what's going on.
Yo. Just warming up the vocal cords. We've got a lot to talk about today. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's waste no time. Welcome. Whether you're a returning listener or a first-time listener, welcome to Zoo's Reviews, the podcast where we discuss the latest and greatest in music, movies, and media. If I find it cool or interesting, then I'm definitely going to talk about it. Simple as that. Every single month, listeners are invited to submit their own music for review on the show. All you have to do is send your links to me on Instagram at official_Zurra. If you don't make music, but you want to contribute to the show in some way, you are more than welcome to send through some quick fire topics, which we'll tackle at the end of each episode. The best way for you to get your topic addressed on this show is to join the Zoo crew on Instagram. So I've set up a little channel, and this is basically where I share things with the Zoo crew nice and early. So any information about tour dates, any upcoming content, any upcoming singles, and I also use it as an opportunity to open it up to the inner circle and see what I should be talking about in the podcast. And so far, everyone's got involved. I've had some great suggestions, some of which you'll hear at the end of this episode. But yeah, if you think that you might have something interesting for me to discuss, then yeah, feel free to join the Zoo crew. I post the channel on my Instagram story every single day. So if you see it pop up and there's a little button underneath that says join channel, do that. Send in some suggestions. I'll be more than happy to cover your topics. So before we get into any of the main topics, I just want to say a massive thank you for your support on my latest single, Need to Know. I did warn you on the last podcast that you may have heard the vocal before. I've since done a little bit of research. I think it's Freddie Lineker and Denon Audio. I could be completely wrong there, but yeah, anyway, there's a couple of tunes that are out that are quite high profile at the minute that use this vocal. So I wasn't 100% sure how this was going to land with people, even though I really believed in the record and the guys at Vivify did as well. Ben and Roman have been fantastic with, everything that they've done for the release, and obviously my previous release on that label, The Other Side, as well. I've got 2 more coming out this year, one in April, one in May. I'll talk about that in just a little bit on the same label. So it's nice to know that I've got the belief and the backing from them. But with Need to Know, I think at the time of this recording, we are at number 13 in the Beatport dance charts, dance hype charts, I should say. But damn, that's crazy. That is absolutely mental. Now, obviously, I'd love to break that top 10. So if you're listening to this right now and you haven't already grabbed a copy of Need to Know, the best place to do it is on Beatport. Now, I appreciate if you're not a DJ or if you're not a working professional in the music industry, Beatport might be a completely foreign concept to you. It's quite different to the rest of the digital stores, streaming services and stuff like that. And they don't make it super user friendly, I've got to be honest. So that makes the charts, in my opinion, a little bit harder to influence. Do you know what I'm saying? Not any Tom, Dick or Harry's going to spend 15 minutes setting up an account and, choosing between MP3 and WAV and all that good stuff that Beatport makes you do. So yeah, it does make the charts a little bit trickier to influence, meaning it's more competitive, in my opinion anyway. But if you do have a few minutes spare and you're willing to put that time and effort into setting up an account, grabbing a copy of Need to Know, it would really mean the world. So thank you very much in advance for any further support. Let's get into that top 10. If we can't make it with this one, we're going to make it with the next one. Trust me, I've got a good feeling about that. But yeah, Need to Know, it's been, going really well. Got some support on BBC Introducing as well. People seem to like it. Good streaming numbers on Spotify too. So yeah, really, really pleased with how it's getting on. Now, it wouldn't be an episode of Zoo's Reviews if I didn't tell you what was coming up next. Now, as I mentioned before, it is going to be coming out on Vivify Records, and I'm so glad that the label believe in this one because I've been holding this next one really close to my chest for about 18 months now. I played it at a bunch of festivals last year, got wicked reactions on the dance floor and stuff like that. It's a proper feel-good tune. There's a lot of cool, ravey stabs in there, some, smooth, kind of almost Disclosure-esque kind of chords going on. One of my favourite bass lines that I've ever written as well. It's super simplistic, but it hits the right notes and it just makes you feel good, So it's called What Time Is It? It's going to be dropping on the 25th of April. So not long to go. If you're listening to this live when this podcast comes out, that's the 3rd. So you've only got 3 weeks to wait until it comes out. I'm super excited for this one. I am super, super excited, and I can't wait for you guys to hear it in all its glory. Um, because yeah, for me, this is like so far my favorite tune that I've got lined up this year. Um, Now I'm bigging it up a lot now, and it might just not be your cup of tea. Like that could be the reality of it. But please approach it with an open mind because this one is super exciting, very different for me as well. It's not the stereotypical Zurra sound. It's a little bit faster paced. It's about 130 beats per minute. Um, and yeah, I think that you're really going to love it. I think you're really, really going to love it. It kind of combines a bunch of different influences that I've had over the years all into one track. And it's kind of got that dusty groove, that super skippy kind of swing drum groove. I don't even know how to, like, my words won't do it justice. I just want to let you guys know that it's coming. What time is it? Is coming on Vivifier on the 25th of April 2025. So make sure you pop that date in your diary because I tell you what, you don't want to miss this one. Like, this is going to be an absolute bop, and I really do think that you're going to love it. So there we go. Thank you for the support on Need to Know, and keep your eyes peeled for more information on what time is it. Again, if you join the Zoo crew, you're going to get information about that release way before anyone else. So make sure you do it if you don't want to miss out. Cool. So, to kick off this week's show, the first main topic we're going to get into is going to be a little gig review of my recent show at Move in Exeter. So, this was a pretty special event. It was in support of a young lad called Jack who's currently suffering with cancer. My understanding is that he's been battling cancer for quite a while now. Traditional methods are starting to not be as effective as they have been previously. And now the family are looking at some alternative treatment. So this event was in aid of that cause to raise money for Jack and his family to start looking at some alternative treatment for his battle with cancer. Now, Lee, who was running the event, reached out to me a few months ago about this, and yeah, the story on its own, really touched my heart. Um, Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to meet Jack. He was supposed to be at the event, but he took a turn for the worst health wise. So him and his family had to spend a night in hospital. Um, but yeah, I was really on board with Lee's mission for the event from the off, and I was super super excited to be a part of it, and very very humbled to be the headliner for it as well. So yeah, when it got to the day of the event, first of all, Exeter, wicked little city. It feels more like a big town than a city. Me and the missus couldn't quite wrap our head around Exeter. We couldn't figure it out. But it's a really, really nice place. Move, the venue itself is really cool. Really, really cool. It reminds me of a lot of other venues, like Basement 45 in Bristol. It kind of gives me a similar vibe to that. It's kind of like a almost a dungeony kind of vibe, mental sound system, wicked production, cool DJ booth, which we'll get into in just a sec. But it was a really, really cool venue. I didn't get to see the other half of the venue, which I believe is called Bomba, but I am booked to play there on the 4th of May. Star Wars Day. Oh my days. I've just saying that out loud has made me realise that that is Star Wars Day. I'm going to have to get a lightsaber. I'm going to have to get a Jedi cloak for that set. 1000%. Keep your eyes peeled for that. So yeah, I've got that to look forward to. But Move itself was, yeah, like really what you want from like an underground venue. Really, really what you want. It had everything. So turn up, nice and early doors, to support the event. Luckily, this was on from 7 p.m. to 3 a.m., so it was a long event. There was quite a big lineup of DJs as well. I played 2 hours, which, I'm always welcoming longer sets nowadays. I just don't feel like the 60-minute model works for DJs anymore. It's not a lot of time at all. An hour set is not a lot of time at all. So to play 2 hours, I was over the moon. It gave me an opportunity to play around with a bunch of different styles of music, not just house, but garage. I even played some dubstep. Now, I know saying that out loud, you're probably thinking, oh my days, what the hell is wrong with you? Who the hell listens to dubstep or plays dubstep in 2025? Well, when the opportunity arises, I like to throw some curveballs in there. I like to throw some wild cards into my sets because at the end of the day, that's what people are going to remember. They're not going to remember like a straightforward house set from start to finish unless it's filled with like, just bangers from start to finish. But then you don't have the journey. Like with 2 hours, you can take the crowd on a journey. You can start one place end up somewhere about halfway that's completely different, work your way back down and work yourself back up again to a crescendo. So it gives you a lot more flexibility to do what you want to do creatively as a DJ. And it just so happened that I wanted to play some fucking dubstep. So that's what I did. It was only one tune, and honestly, it did get a wicked reaction. So I was quite lucky in that sense that people were on board with it. But yeah, played a lot of garage, played a lot of speed garage, some techno, and yeah, just had fun with it, really. Just had fun with it. So we'll kind of break it down into the few segments that I mentioned in the first episode when I reviewed the common room in Bath. So we'll start with the DJ booth. The DJ booth is going to get a 4 out of 5 zoos from me because it had everything that you needed. Now, the promoter actually provided his own equipment for the event. So I was playing on an RX3. For those who don't know what an RX3 is, it's a top of the range all-in-one Pioneer controller. So it does everything that CDJs can do. It can even do more, to be honest. Like, there's a few different options on there with like the touchpads at the bottom. So you do have some cool effects that CDJs don't actually have. And it's something that I'm familiar with playing with anyway. So I had no problem playing on the RX3. Wicked bit of gear. But the actual DJ booth itself was really, really cool. Really, really cool. Loved the production behind the DJ with the lights and the screens and stuff like that. That was really cool. So yeah, it definitely gets a 4 out of 5 zoos from the DJ booth side of things from me. Overall production. So yeah, we're talking like, again, like the lights, we're talking the sound system. The sound system was fucking huge. Function 1, and especially in that room, oh my days. Like, it just banged. It just absolutely banged. Now, I've got to be 100% honest about this next bit, right? And this is no disrespect to anyone involved. When I turned up at 7 o'clock for the event, there was a DJ on opening the event at 7 o'clock. 7 p.m., by the way. Was playing super heavy bass house from 7 till 8. And for me, that was a good opportunity for me to hear how big the sound system can go. But that's not how you do a warm-up set at all. I'm so sorry to, if the DJ that I didn't even get a chance to say hi to him. I don't know if I ever will, but yeah, not too sure who they were, but that's not how you do a warm-up set, bro. That's everything that you don't do in a warm-up set. Looking at the sequence of the lineup and the DJs and stuff like that, it didn't make sense. In fact, it killed a lot of the momentum, like right at the start of the event. And then everyone had to work to bring it back down again and stuff like that. So the DJ after him had a really hard job of bringing it back down to a reasonable level to play at an 8 till 9 p.m. set. And then but luckily they did a great job. And then the DJ after that as well, Benji, he brought it down a little bit more, and then we were good to go again. But it did take a while to bring those levels down in a reasonable way. So to any DJs who are playing warm-up sets and you're listening to this, don't do what this guy did. He played the most ridiculous. I mean, don't get me wrong. If he played that at peak time, like, that would have gone off without a doubt. But yeah, for people who were just kind of like filtering in early doors and they're kind of listening in, it was a bit intense. It was a bit intense, But anyway, back to the sound system. The sound system itself absolutely slapped. The lights was great. You could tell that there's a big emphasis on the production at that venue. So whoever owns that venue definitely wanted it to look and sound amazing, which it did. So again, I'm going to have to give it a 4 out of 5 zoos. Overall vibe. Now, it was hard for me to judge the overall vibe of the venue because, admittedly, there weren't that many people at the event. There were enough people to have a good time and stuff like that, but like, I think it was quite difficult to tell the vibe. I don't know what their usual clientele is, so it's hard for me to gauge, whether the people that were there that time were like the normal crowd or not. But the people that were there were having a wicked time, and there was no trouble at all. There was a group of squaddies right at the start of the night who there was a kind of preconceived idea that they were going to be trouble, which I didn't like. Because, give him a chance, but unfortunately, there is just a reputation behind squaddies on nights out and stuff like that, testosterone, rah, rah, rah. But they were lovely dudes. They were really, really sweet dudes. And actually, they ended up leaving at 9 because they had a curfew at 10 for fighting amongst each other. So there we go. But they were really, really nice guys. And actually, they fit the vibe of the place as well. So you had people from all different walks of life that were in there. You had some people that were in there like 60s plus, and then you had some of Jack's friends who were like 18, 19 that had travelled from all over the UK, by the way, just to be at this event, which is fantastic. So yeah, it didn't really matter. There was a vibe, but it's hard for me to judge it because I've never been there before, and I don't know if that is the usual vibe. It's a very different event to what they normally host there. It was a charity event, a family event kind of thing. But while I was there, the vibes were strong. The vibes were strong. I can't complain at all. I am going to give it 3 out of 5 zoos just because I can't give it an honest indication of whether that's the overall vibe of the venue entirely or not. So I think that 3 out of 5 is, that's a fair score. So overall, it's going to get 4 out of 5 zoos. Move Exeter, wicked venue, wicked event. Thank you to Lee for getting me involved once again. As a result of the event, we managed to raise, I think, about £2,700 for Jack's family. I donated half of my booking fee as well. So again, we're so close to reaching that target for Jack's family. I think that they're just a couple of £1,000s away now. From there, I believe it's £35,000 goal for all this alternative treatment. So yeah, the event was a success. It was a success. Admittedly, it wasn't as busy as the team thought it was going to be. A lot of tickets were sold, but I think that they were sold in an attempt to support the event from afar, if that makes sense, to provide a donation through a different channel. And then the donation page itself received a big boost as well. So the event was an absolute success. Lee should be really proud of himself for putting on a great event. And I know that Jack and his family will be super grateful for all the support that he has provided, and all the time and effort that he's put in. So, move Exeter, overall 4 out of 5 zoos. Wicked time, really good vibe all round. It was really nice to finally meet some people that I've been talking to on the internet for so long. Like being in the music industry, a DJ and stuff, you end up chatting to, networking to other people and promoters, this, that, and the other. And then it's not until sometimes it's like 6 to 12 months later, you finally meet these people in person. And it's nice, it's nice to finally, connect the dots in that sense. But yeah, gig review at Move in Exeter, 4 out of 5 zoos. Really wicked night, and well done to everyone involved. Okay, cool. So we're going to jump into the music review section on this episode. We've got 3 fresh tracks from 3 great new producers. And we've got some familiar names in the mix on this week's show as well. So we've got Alphajay, Major Trouble, and James Biaga on this week's show. We're going to kick things off with Cease and Desist Records CEO Alphajay. I love this dude, man. I love his energy, his passion for dance music. If you don't know what Cease and Desist is, it's a wicked little record label. We featured some music from that label on this show. Jude Spector and BXN's Break It Down, which is a banger, by the way. So Alphajay heads up the label. He also runs the Desistance Radio as well. He's also got a wicked podcast, which you need to check out on YouTube too. They've only just done the first episode, I believe, which featured Jude Spector and BXN. But honestly, I am really excited to see how that develops as well. He's got a really interesting take on certain things when it comes to dance music, rave culture and stuff like that. So it's, really interesting conversations to listen to. So if you're listening to this and you like this, I guarantee you're going to like that as well. So let's get straight into it. We've got Alphajay with a new one from himself titled Brighter. Let's check it out.
I never thought that this would last. Wearing scars from my past.
Okay, some D&B.
Showing who I really am. I never knew this day would come. When I no longer need to run, but now
chords are nice. Good old Korg M1. Oh, is it D&B? It's definitely D&B tempo. Here we go, yeah, there we go. Nice, cool. I like this. Those chords are awesome, man. Like, they're getting me right in the feels. Right in the feels.
I never thought that this would last. Wearing scars from my past. I never thought I'd lose my mask. Showing who I really am.
I don't know if the vocal's original or not. And we'll get into this in a sec, but it's kind of giving me KSI vibes, man. From the point of view of like it, you know, being a record, I think this is awesome, man. Like, this is really, really cool. I'll tell you what, I'm just conscious of time, so I'm going to start fading it out here, and then we can get into it in a bit more detail. Cool, so that was Alphajay with Brighter. Thank you very much for sending that in, mate. I really like the vibe on this, man. I really like the vibe. So, drum and bass, I really like the fact that you didn't start with like your typical kind of drum and bass drum pattern as well. You kind of had like a bit of a almost like a hip hoppy. So yeah, that was nice. Because at first, like, I didn't know. Okay, is this drum and bass? And then it goes into the drum and bassy kind of stuff that you know and love. But yeah, I like the fact that there was a bit of variation in the drums as well, because you don't really see much of that in drum and bass. It's pretty much like, let's go into the arm and break and go from there. But yeah, really, really good work, dude. Like I said, the chords were really, really lush. I was, you know, stuck in my feels for a lot of that, to be fair. The vocal's wicked as well. You'll have to let me know whether that's original or a sample, because it's good. It's a very good vocal. And yeah, it goes really well with the chords that you got in there on the Korg one as well. Good use of effects, you know, like a lot of swooshes, a lot of like sweeps and exhausts and stuff like that, just to kind of fill things out in the background. I think for me, where this could be improved is the drums, big time. I think that the drop section drums at the moment just do not hit. But I think that with a bit of tweaking, they can get there. So I also think that the sound selection on the drums at the moment, like, I'm not 100% convinced that every single piece of the puzzle in the drums fits at the moment. So you've obviously got the hats on top. I'm not too sure they should be hitting on like this is how bad I am with music, right? I don't understand music theory. I just know what sounds good when I've got a door in front of me. But you know how the hats were like going. I don't think that you necessarily need that on top. I think that if you had a good, if you had like a good ride loop to sit on top, not necessarily a full aim and break, but like the sizzle of the rides on top, I think that would satisfy that. And then you could almost have the hats more downtime. So have like a slightly open hat on the kick and the snare, and then between that having a closed one, but like a more kind of organic sounding one. Does that make sense? I feel like I might have overcomplicated that massively. Basically, what I'm kind of comparing it to is people like Dimension, Subfocus, Sigma, Netsky, and stuff like that, where they have obviously like the super duper electronic sound, but they have organic sounding drums for the most part. And I think that always fits really nice as opposed to electronic sounding drums. Obviously, the big snare, the big kick, that, you know, that comes as standard with drum and bass. But the things in between, the hats, the rides, that could be more natural. And I find things sit a little bit better when they're a little bit more organic, you know. But that's really my only bit of feedback, to be honest, mate. I think everything else really sits nicely. I think with drum and bass, though, it is quite like, you know, it's in the name of the genre. The drums and the bass have to be the strongest elements of the track, and I just don't think the drums are quite there yet. But it's nothing that you can't do, mate. Because I've heard your tracks. It's nothing that you can't do. I've heard your other productions, so yeah, this should be no hassle to fix at all. But yeah, really, really, you know, really, really impressed, mate. Really, really impressed. I'm gonna give this 3.5 out of 5 zoos. I think that once those drums are fixed, you know, that instantly bumps it up by quite a bit, to be fair. Because yeah, at the moment it's just lacking slightly. But Everything else that's in the track, the vocal, the chords, and the variation, the arrangement. Again, I didn't mention the arrangement, but that's really cool as well. There's definitive sections. I'm sorry that I had to cut it short. I'm just conscious that we were only halfway through, and we've still got a couple of other submissions to go through. But yeah, I'm going to check the rest out in a sec once I finish recording this podcast, and I'll hit you up, dude, because I'm really, really impressed. So that was Brighter by Alphajay. Thank you very much for sending that in, dude. We're going to move into the next one, which was just submitted to me literally within the last, I don't know, hour on Discord. A guy called Major Trouble. Now, he said, here's a bunch of my tracks, have at it. So I just decided, okay, I'm going to pick one. The Work is the one that I went with. So he sent me a big folder, and Major Trouble's The Work is the one that we're going to be reviewing today. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. This is The Work by Major Trouble. Let's get into it. Typical extended mix intro. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Sounds like we're going into some tech house, maybe. Oh, nice. Okay. Starting a bit sinister coming in. Maybe bass house. Who knows? It's nice to have a long intro, though, especially for DJs. Oh. Yeah, maybe more on the bass house side of things. This is cool. I like this. Ooh. Nice. Wasn't expecting that. Good bit of variation. Again, I always mention variation. That's exactly what I'm talking about right there. More variation again. Wicked. Good work, man. Good build. Nice. A lot of payoff on that drop, man. A lot of payoff. That's cool. A G-Funk whistle, dude. You're tickling my pickle right now. This is awesome. Love the ideas in here, man. Again, a lot of variation, you know, it's very progressive. Always introducing something new.
People will support underground music.
Awesome.
Before, like, you would pass out your CDs, tapes, people would just look at them, whatever. You couldn't do shows if you were on the radio. In the Bay, you can actually do shows, and people may not know you, but they'll come to the show for electronic music.
It's a lot of culture involved in the Bay Area. You know what I mean? Like, you got a whole group of people kind of doing this type of thing. You know, some of them might be performers or whatever. But even if you're not performing, you coming to see it because you into it in some way.
Cool little breakdown section there. It's quite empty, but I didn't think it needed anything. These builds are awesome though. Nice. Major Trouble, mate. This is awesome. I'm going to start fading it out. I'm just conscious there's a lot of time left on the track. So we're going to start bringing it to a close now. Major Trouble with The Work there. Damn. That was really cool, man. I didn't know what to expect. I've got to be honest, I've never heard any of your productions before. But that exceeded expectations, mate. That exceeded expectations. Massive, massive well done. You'll have to let me know when this is due for release, when this is going out, you know, what your plans are for it. Because, yeah, it'd be good to know. Maybe I could stick it in a Zoocasa episode or something like that. But yeah, really well done, mate. I think that kind of hard to put it in a box, which is cool. I wouldn't necessarily call it bass house. It's more bass house than tech house. So you tell me what you think it is. I just think that the sound design, the kind of crunchy like stuff that you got going on over the top, leans more towards bass house than tech house. But also like the low end, like what you got going on with the sub and stuff, is very tech. So it's a good blend of the two, you know, kind of Confession, you know, Charmy's label vibe. Really cool ideas with the variation, you know, mixing things up every 8 bars. Really cool. The build-ups, really, really nice. I think that the first drop after the first like kind of build-up section was perfect, right? It had the payoff. It had some extra bits and bobs that weren't in the like initial introduction to what the drop section is going to sound like before that first breakdown and build up, if that makes sense. So it was nice to hear some additional elements that we didn't get the first time round. With the last build up into the last drop, I think that needs to be different. It's basically the same except with a ride at the moment. So I just think that there needs to be something a little bit different about the final drop, because while you're ultimately paying off that first big drop section, there almost needs to be more of a payoff for the last drop of the tune, because you're expecting your audience to stick around through the breakdown and that extended build up, right? So there needs to be more payoff. Adding a ride in there is good for the sake of, you know, making it slightly different to the first one, but I do think that maybe you could drop out some of the drums and have something interesting going on there. Maybe have like a big siren, or, you know, I mean, it's down to you, mate. But I think that the final drop could potentially do with, you know, just juicing up a little bit, you know, just something a little bit different, just to keep people on their toes, you know. One thing that I've found, especially with Tech House, is that like the drops are the same regardless, and I find that quite disappointing. But with this, you've managed to keep the first two different, which is good. The final one just needs a little bit something extra now, just to make it different, just to make people stick around and listen to it, you know. But yeah, I thought it was really good, mate. I thought it was really, really good. Arrangements fantastic. Not 100% sold on the drums. I've got to be honest. Like, drums are a bit of a tricky one, but I'm not 100% sold that this is the best version of the drum pattern that you can have. Just sounds a little bit too the sample selection is just a little bit flat for me. Like, I want to hear drums that really kind of mix up electronic and organic sounds. So, you know, you're not just getting like the kind of boutique 808 or 909 drums, but also splashing in some like authentic sounding snares or cowbells and stuff like that, just to mix it up a little bit. But honestly, that's just down to taste, mate. That's just down to taste. That's got nothing, you know, the idea as a whole doesn't suffer for that. That is just me and my personal taste. Yeah, really, really enjoyed it, mate. Really, really enjoyed it. I think that the drums could do with some zhuzhing up. I don't even know how you'd spell the word zhuzh. I've always used the word zhuzh to basically imply that something needs spicing up. So sorry if that doesn't mean anything to you. But yeah, the drums could do with spicing up. Also, the final drop section could do with something a little bit different going on, so that we get some additional payoff from that extended breakdown and build up. I'm going to give this 3.5 out of 5 zoos again, mate, because I'm really, really impressed with it. I think it's fantastic. There's just a couple of sections which, you know, could boost this up a few points in future. The drums, for me, are just a little bit flat. They're not quite hitting as much as they could. Also, the sound design, the crunchy synth that you got on the top as well. I think that could, as much as it's cool and, like, there's some good bits of variation in there, I think that you could evolve the sound, you know, maybe like whack an LFO on there, like really kind of, if you're going to embrace the bass house side of things, you know, really spend a bit of extra time on the sound design. You know, maybe have the same patch, but, you know, one with an LFO, one with, you know, some crazy filter in and stuff like that. So just try and vary that up a little bit as well. But yeah, overall 3.5 out of 5 zoos. Really, really impressed. That was the work by Major Trouble. Please send more in future, mate. Really, really impressed. And then finally, we're going to get into a new one from James Biaga. Now, James, I was lucky enough to see him DJ at E1 in December, and my God, this dude's a wicked selector, and his tunes are just as good as he is behind the decks. So I'm really excited to check this one out. This one is titled Daylight. Let's get into it. Oh, is this going to be some deep house? I like the atmospherics, that pad already. Drums sound cool. Oh, hello. Here we go. I think deep house. Oh, dude. I'm looking outside. The sun's shining. Piano House is on. Damn, you caught me at a good time, James. Nice, cool, man. Interesting choice with the low end, man. Vocals are sick. Again, I don't know if that's a sample or an original, but it works for me. Works with me for the kind of piano house vibes you've got going on here. Good bit of natural progression there with those horns. That sounded really cool. A lot of variation going on. Again, with these kinds of records, I think that the vocal provides most of the variation, but yeah, the production is kind of following suit. So it's really cool, man. Really cool. If you took the vocal out, this is kind of giving me a bit of My Love Route 94 vibe, like just with the choice of the drums and the low end and stuff. Man, yeah, James, you caught me at a good time, man. Literally, I'm looking outside at the sunshine while this is playing. It was like it was meant to be. I tell you what, I'm just conscious of time, mate, so I'm going to start bringing the tune down ever so slightly. In fact, let's hit the second drop. Let's not be shy. This is definitely going to get some kind of radio play, whether it's BBC introducing or, you know, something. Cool, I'm going to start bringing it down, James, but yeah, really, really impressed. James Biaga there with Daylight. Okay, cool. Let's get into this. So, I love this tune. Now, I don't know whether the sunshine outside my window that I'm staring at right now has something to do with it or not, but it just, yeah, mate, it tickled my pickle, I can't lie. Yeah, the drums, I think that you made a great choice with the drums. You know, you haven't had, you know, it's not a very obvious choice with the kind of the clap that you've got there, the kind of thud. I don't even know what you'd call that, to be fair. Would that be a rim shot? But it's not an obvious choice, and I appreciate that because it's not going to sound like everything else. Interesting choice with the low end as well. That kind of Reese vibe that you got going on there. Yeah, really, really cool, man. Not really much to pick apart. The vocal, I'd like to know if that's original or not, because I think that, yeah, this sounds like it was written for this instrumental, so it sounds like it's original. But yeah, you'll have to let me know, dude. And the chords are great as well. You know, piano house, you can't go wrong with piano house. I'm always going to be happy to hear it. So please just send more, mate. That was really, really cool. Yeah, the variation was good as well. Like, I'm just trying to think where it can be improved. Yeah, I mean, it's just a good tune, mate. It's just a good tune. Like, you know, I don't want to overanalyze it and really try and nitpick something out of it if there isn't, you know, anything to nitpick. But yeah, I suppose. No, that would be being harsh. Anyway, forget about it. This is going to get 4 out of 5 zoos, mate. Like, this is a really, really solid tune. I guarantee this is radio ready. Like, this is going to get spins on radio, no doubt about it. If you haven't sent it to BBC Introducing already, do that. Because they'll eat this up. And it's a proper good, it's just a feel-good tune for the summer. So I don't know if your plans are to get this out this year or not, but might be worth holding on to it for next summer, get a proper release strategy behind it and stuff like that. But if you are planning to drop it this year, mate, I'll champion it. You know, I'll whack it on my radio show and stuff like that, because this is awesome, man. This is really, really cool. So yeah, 4 out of 5 zoos, James. Yeah, sorry I didn't really find anything that could be improved, but it's just a really good tune, mate. I think that you've made the right creative choices. So yeah, no issue from me. Cool. So massive thank you to Alphajay, Major Trouble, and James Biaga for sending their music in. If you are a music producer, singer, rapper, songwriter, whatever, I don't want to exclude anyone from it. You know, all genres are welcome, and you want to get some feedback from an industry professional, this is the place to do it. It's a safe space. Don't worry, I'm not going to bite. But yeah, send it to me on Instagram at @official_Zurra. Some people have reached out on other methods as well. Some people have somehow got my number. So I've been sent stuff on WhatsApp, Discord, whatever. So however you can get it to me, but preferably through Instagram at @official_Zurra if you don't mind. And why not join the Zoo crew while you're there as well? So before we get into the next main topic, I just want to spend a little bit of time talking to you about a new development in my career, something I'm very excited about. So for those who don't know, literally for my entire career, I have self-managed. I've looked after my own bookings. I've never had a booking agent or a manager. I've always just looked after things myself. And I'm a hustler. I love the hustle. I love knocking on people's doors and stuff like that. But at some point, you know, you need to get a bit of assistance, you know, to take you to that next level. And I'm super excited to say that I've just signed with Holl'r Music. So they're going to be representing me. So Mark and Alexandra, they're just a great pair of people, honestly. Like, I met them in December last year at E1. So I was playing on Jess Baez's Superstore Records takeover at E1 in the White Room. And it was a wicked event. I had an absolutely amazing time. You know, it was great to meet Jess. I took the decks over from her. It was great to meet everyone else there as well. So, you know, it was a really, really wicked night. And I had a quick little chat with Alexandra outside, you know, and, you know, she was kind of talking to me about her plans with Jess in 2025. And then I started speaking to Mark from E1 as well, and he was kind of showing me around the venue, gave me a little tour. Lovely dude. You know, he spent a bit of time with me and my friend Keanu at the end, and he was just like, oh, come check this out, this is what we're doing here, this is what we're doing there. My people. Like, really my people that you don't struggle having a conversation with, you know, and people that are very determined. So I was reached out to not too long ago, and they basically asked me, look, this is what we got planned. Like, this is the vision. We want you to be one of the artists that we look after as part of this movement. And you know what? When it comes to my baby, because anything music related for me, it feels like it's my child, you know. I always feel a little bit protective, and I'm always a little bit cautious. But this decision was super easy because I just knew that they were my people, you know. Like, everyone's on the same page, the vision is there, and I do think that this is really gonna be a massive positive step for me in my career. So yeah, very excited to have joined the roster alongside people like Jess Baez, Chloe, James Biaga, who we've just mentioned on the show as well, Mac 10, who I believe has just joined the roster too. So, you know, it's a very small, tight-knit family, but we're going to do some pretty big and cool things. So I'm very excited. So yeah, for those who didn't quite catch that at the start, it's Holl'r Music. So myself, Jess Baez, Mac 10, Rosca as well, who's a singer-songwriter. He's not necessarily in the DJ world, but he's another artist that's joined the roster too. Chloe and James Biaga. So keep your eyes peeled. We're going to make some serious moves this year. Now, recently, as you guys know from my previous podcast, I did turn 30 years old. Oh my days, loving my 30s so far, by the way. Everyone was telling me, you're going to you know, it's all downhill from here, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I know I'm only a month in, but I'm having a good time. Can't lie. The hangovers, they suck and my back hurts, but everything else is fine. But as a belated birthday present, my sister and her husband, Michael, legend, got me tickets to see one of my favourite stand-up comedians at the OVO Arena in Wembley. Tom Segura. I could not believe it. Like, I love Tom Segura. He is straight up 10 out of 10 for me. And spent the day with my dad. We went to go see him together, and it was an awesome day from start to finish. Like, we started, like, I didn't know what the plan was. Like, this was a surprise until the day. So I just got told to go to my sister's house at a specific time. I get there. My dad and my brother-in-law Michael, they're having a beer in the garden. I'm like, okay, cool, this is nice. Still don't know what the hell's going on, so cracking a beer with them, having a few crisps or whatever. And then I opened a birthday card, and it says, happy birthday, you benchord. You're off to see Tom Segura, and I just lost it. I just completely lost it. So yeah, me and Dad went into down Wembley. We stopped off at Box Park. We just drank a lot of beer, ate an amazing Argentinian steak, which still I can just taste it in my mouth. It was so good. Yeah, drank more beer, ate some churros, drank some more beer, and then finally went to the OVO Arena, sat down in our seats to watch Tom Segura. I've never seen, like, I love stand-up comedy, but I've never seen stand-up comedy on this scale before. I've always been at, like, smaller theatre shows, Corn Exchange in Cambridge, for example. I went to the Bristol Beacon not too long ago to see Jimmy Carr, which was phenomenal as well. Like, a very different style of comedy, but it was so raw and so real. So yeah, like, I've seen these smaller scale ones, and I love going to a comedy night every Sunday with my friend Nigel, called This Next Act, in Bristol, which is obviously, like, up and coming talent in the comedy world. So these guys are just trying out new jokes, and there's maybe, like, 5-6 people in the room, but we like being one of them because we just love being, we just love receiving jokes. But yeah, never seen comedy on this scale before. Tom Segura, what a pro. His I tell you what, his support act, let's get into that quickly. Kirk Fox, I believe his name was. Took a little while for the British audience to kind of warm to him, but he was dynamite, man. He was so funny. Like, I'm not going to be able to do one of his jokes justice, but it's just like talking about, like, busting a nut and stuff like that. It was so really just like stupid humor, like, not very intelligent at all, but the delivery, the way he looks and stuff like that, it was just comedy gold. So Kirk Fox, 10 out of 10 from me as well. Tom Segura started his set, there was obviously a lot of production and, a cool intro and crazy music, this, that, and the other. OVO Arena in Wembley is a mental venue as well, an absolutely mental venue. And we were sat fairly far back, but they had these huge screens and stuff, so we weren't missing anything. And also, it's crazy how much stage presence that man has, despite the fact that we were, I don't know, about 100 yards away from him. Like, and he was, it just felt like he was right in front of you saying these jokes in your face. It was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal, and he really owned the stage. And from start to finish, I just had a huge grin on my face. I couldn't stop laughing. Didn't matter whether it was like blue humor or just like cheap gags or like interacting with the crowd. The dude's just got funny bones. He's just hilarious through and through. And overall, like, the experience was just, it was incredible. It was incredible. Like, to see comedy done so well on that scale. Because for me, I think that's the hardest job in the world. Stand-up comedy is the hardest job in the world. It doesn't matter what you do. There is nothing more difficult than being one singular human being, going out to a crowd of complete strangers and being like, here's the exchange. I'm going to tell you a joke, you're going to laugh, and we're going to have a good time. That's a difficult thing to do. And especially, like, when we go and see these smaller ones, like these pub gigs and stuff in and around Bristol, that exchange, that that exchange of energy is a little bit trickier, because even though there are less people and stuff like that, it's like, if anything, there's more pressure because there's less people. Because if one person laughs, you sometimes get a bit of a chain reaction, but if no one laughs, then it almost feels like everyone that may have potentially found that funny is embarrassed to laugh. And then that makes it a bit of a hard time for the comedians. So for me, I think toughest job in the fucking world. You've got nothing to hide behind. It's just you and a microphone. It's not like there's music to, like, hide behind. Like, if you're a singer or if you're a DJ and you're having a dodgy set, you might press the sync button because you're pissed or something. There's no sync button in there's no sync button in stand-up comedy. You've just got to own it. And yeah, Tom Segura, wow, honestly. Had the best day, not just going to see him, but like the day as a whole was a solid 5 out of 5 zoos. So yeah, Tom Segura, 5 out of 5 zoos. The day as a whole, 5 out of 5 zoos. Thank you very much to my family, my sister Colette, Michael, and my dad for obviously a fantastic day. And thank you to my mum as well for keeping the secret, and Jess as well, my fiance. I didn't give her enough credit. She is terrible at keeping secrets, but she managed to keep her lips shut. So well done to her. Thank you so much, family. What an incredible experience that was. Tom Segura Come Together tour at OVO in Wembley, 5 out of 5 zoos. Now, we've got about 10 minutes left. Well, I say we've got 10 minutes left. We always overrun, but actually we're doing quite good for time on this show. So we're going to jump into the listener topics. So let's have a little look. So the first one that we got here is... wow, okay. It's from Cam Surgeoner. Good friend of mine from back home. Absolutely lovely lad. How do you keep your shit together? So many balls to juggle, but it looks like you're doing it one-handed. Well... thank you very much for the topic, Cam. The truth is, I'm not keeping my shit together. I I know how to appear like I'm keeping it together. But really, it's just fucking chaos, mate. My life is absolute chaos, but controlled chaos, organized chaos. No, I think that I've got a lot better in keeping my shit together in recent years, just because I've kind of forced myself to. I think that when I first left my hometown, and I had my first bit of freedom, living in Guildford, away from my parents and stuff like that, I kind of went a little bit crazy and didn't have my shit together at all. So my whole time in Guildford was a little bit reckless. I put on a lot of weight as well. Like I was not really looking after myself. I was drinking a lot, eating a lot, not eating a lot of the good stuff either. So it was a lot of takeaways and stuff. Living in a house with 3 other lads who, I love to death. They're like brothers to me. We were just bad influences for each other, but we were all always having a good time. So, I don't regret anything about it, but I definitely didn't have my shit together then. Let's put it that way. When I moved to Bristol, that's when my shit started coming together a bit. I had adult responsibilities. I had a 9 to 5. I had to, I was in a brand new city that I'd never been in before. I had to go out and make new friends and meet new people and stuff like that. So I was slowly starting to get my shit together then. COVID pandemic kicks in, literally 6 months into moving to Bristol. I can't go out and meet new people. I can't go out and socialise. My job is now not a 9 to 5. It's a very different situation. My shit starts to come undone a little bit again. But I think everyone's shit did during the pandemic as well, because it's like all of a sudden, wow, we got all this time. Like, now I can binge whatever I want and like not feel guilty about, having a beer at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, kind of slip back into some old habits. And then off the back of that, I think, losing my job a couple of years ago really was kind of the thing where I was like, I really have to pull it together now. Like, because if I don't, there's no guaranteed salary that's going to kind of help me kind of stay on track financially. So I just made sure that everything was airtight in my life. So I'm still balancing things. I'm still trying hard to pull it together even more, because sometimes things fall apart. It's natural, it happens. But yeah, like, so I'm very disciplined in the gym, very disciplined when it comes to jiu-jitsu. Like, I am obviously working full-time as a DJ, music producer, podcaster, if you can call this a job, YouTuber, this, that, whatever you want to call it. Like, DJ tutoring as well. So, like, I'm self-employed now, so I feel like on the financial and work side of things, I have to keep my shit together all the time. And then in my personal life, of course, I'm getting married this year, which is incredible. I can't believe it. Like, I'm so excited for that. So I suppose from the outside looking in, it does look like I've really got my shit together. But there are days where I absolutely crumble, just like anyone else. Just like anyone else. And, in reference to your comment about me doing it one-handed, if that's how it looks, mate, fuck, I must be doing something right, because I look around me all the time and it's like that meme of that dog in that cafe that's on fire where he's like, this is fine. That is literally like my life sometimes. I'm looking around like, yeah, okay. It's all falling to shit, but this is fine. But no, thank you for sending that in, dude. Like, I suppose, how do I keep my shit together? Just requires discipline, mate. Just requires discipline. You've got to... For me, it was time management. That's where things were kind of falling apart for me. Time management. Now I dedicate, obviously, the hours of 9 to 5, treating music as my 9 to 5. Anything outside of that, I'm not thinking about music. I'm not working on music at all. I'm spending time with Jess. I'm spending time with friends, when I can make time for them, which is, a bit of a shit thing to say out loud, to be honest. But again, it's just being selective about the time and, how you manage it. Making sure that I'm spending time in the gym, making sure I'm getting my steps in, going out getting some sunlight now that summer's here. Not drinking all the time and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just discipline. I suppose discipline is the main thing. When you have a clear vision of what you want, it makes things a lot easier. But if you don't really know what you're doing or you don't know what you want to do, kind of thing, maybe that's where things kind of fall apart a little bit more. So for me, it was all about time management and setting clear goals. And when I have a goal in mind, you cannot take me off the path. I am on it. So yeah, thank you very much for sending that in, dude. Discipline. The key thing there is discipline. Number 2, so we got another one from I Am Mr. P, aka Lee. Thank you very much for sending this in, dude. Have you covered hearing damage on the pod yet? No, I haven't, but this is a fantastic topic to talk about. So, if you're a DJ listening to this and you haven't got some custom made earplugs, do yourself a favour. The Musicians Health Hearing Scheme offers ACS custom earplugs, which usually cost about £240 for £50. If you can prove that you're a working professional, and by the way, this is not a sponsorship, this is not an ad or anything like that, this is just information that you should absolutely take advantage of, because I didn't know it existed until someone told me about it. And now I've got a lot of people in my circle that are like, oh, my ears are absolutely fucked. Well, this is a good opportunity to kind of act on that before it's too late. So yeah, the Musicians Health Hearing Scheme, you can get ACS custom earplugs for £50. Usually cost about £240. What the process looks like is you have to basically apply first, like, not any old Tom, Dick and Harry can go for it. There's an application form where you basically have to prove that you're that you're a working professional in the music industry, or that you're working in and around loud environments. So even people who work in venues like bar staff, you can get some as well, which is great. If you're working at festivals or whatever, again, that's a perfect example of working in the music industry. You don't necessarily have to be a musician. As long as you can prove that and you complete the application form, then they'll send you a date to go get your earplugs fitted. When you go there, they're going to do some hearing tests to figure out what kind of filter you need in your earplugs. And the tests are kind of funny, to be fair. Like, they'll have like these weird stereo headphones on where they're like panning things from left to right and they're getting gradually louder and quieter. And you have to press a button every time you hear a noise. And there's almost a weird kind of placebo thing going on in your head where even when you're not hearing noises, you feel like, oh, I feel like that must have been a noise, and you click things. So try your best not to like overthink it. Literally just react, because you're going to get the most honest response back. And then they'll figure out what filters you need. They'll fit the thing to your ears. And then a few weeks later, you'll receive them in the post, and then your hearing will be A-okay. So yeah, you can change the filter as well. You can change the severity of the filter. So if you wanted to apply more protection, you can. If you wanted to kind of let some additional frequencies through, you can do that as well. So I really couldn't vouch for ACS custom plugs anymore. And considering they're so cost effective as well, it's a no-brainer. Why would you buy? I mean, I'm not going to slag any other brands off, but there are some out there at the moment that are cheaper, absolutely, but they're not custom fit to your ear. And for me personally, just having them, knowing that they are fit to my ear, it kind of adds an extra layer of security where I'm like, okay, I know these are working. Like if I bought, like a pair for like £10-20 online and I just put them in my ear, I wouldn't be 100% happy that they're doing the most to protect my hearing. So yeah, I suppose you guys have got a call to action now. Go and check out the Musicians Health Hearing Scheme and get yourself some custom plugs fitted. Couldn't vouch for it enough. Honestly, I'm terrible. Sometimes I leave my plugs at home, but I always make an effort to go and get some while if I leave them for whatever reason, I will go and get some at the venue. Just because, without our hearing, what are we doing? We can't DJ without our hearing, So yeah, do yourself a favour. Just get some custom ones. Don't listen to these brands that are like, oh yeah, here you go, 20 quid, full protection. No. If you want full protection and you're a working professional in the industry and you value your hearing, which you should, go and get some custom ones made. For the small price of £50, that is nothing to protect one of your senses. Because for some people, it is a little bit too late. You know, you might already experiencing the symptoms of tinnitus, but better late than never. You know, protect what you have still. So yeah, that hasn't really answered any kind of question, but yeah, hearing protection is like, you know, the most important thing, like to prevent hearing loss. Of course, it's a no-brainer. Anyone who is experiencing hearing loss, you know, just go and get yourself tested. Just see exactly how much of the frequency spectrum you can still hear. It's important to know, 100%. And yeah, if you're working in the industry, without a doubt, get some earplugs. Do yourself a favor. Cool. Thank you very much for sending that in, Lee. And then finally, we got something here from Keely Sudbury. So, oh, this is a good one. Drinking culture in the music industry, your thoughts and experiences. I'm a sober DJ and it has been interesting. Well, thank you very much for sending that in. So, yeah, drinking culture. Well, I mean, it's almost unavoidable, you know, like it really is almost unavoidable in recent years. I mean, well, in the last couple of years while I've been working full time in music, I have made a decision not to drink when I play, because there's just no point. Like, there is just no point. I will do it every now and then as a special occasion, but like, you know, when you're literally gigging every Friday, Saturday, you know, sometimes midweek, that's all going to compound, and it's all going to cause, you know, it's all going to cause irreversible damage. You know, when you're drinking like to that frequency all the time. So yeah, for me, I'm not interested in that anymore. I'm not a sober DJ by any means, no, but yeah, because I will have a drink every now and then. But yeah, I don't. I tend not to drink when I work now, just because, yeah, it's a slippery slope. I've seen it with other people, and I don't want that to be me. So I have no interest in, you know, getting plastered every time I play, because then I'll be getting plastered, you know, 2 or 3 times a week, which is not healthy at all. So I think that there is obviously a massive increase in sober clubbing, sober bars, and stuff like that now, which I think is fantastic. I think that that completely changes the dynamic of a night out for people as well. It's a very different environment to operate in as a DJ and as just a punter. You know, you go to these sober nights and it's good fun. Like, you know, like, and you don't have to have a drink to have a good time. You know, that's a really good sign. Younger people aren't drinking as much nowadays, just because it's kind of looked at as something that their parents did. You know what I mean? Like, alcohol is kind of a little bit outdated now and stuff like that. You know, you got more people who are into like microdosing mushrooms on a night out than drinking booze now, which is quite interesting. And I think that, you know, there's been a complete 180 on things like cannabis as well. You know, people smoking joints, and you know, that was vilified, you know, about like, well, I don't know, I'm just trying to think, like when I was like 16 and younger, like when I was in school, it was completely vilified. Now everyone's fucking having a go on the cannabis, you know. It's crazy. So yeah, I think that like alcohol doesn't necessarily, it doesn't necessarily appeal to people anymore, which I think is a really, I think that's a positive step for everyone, you know. um yeah, I mean, what else is there to say, really? You know, like, I think that the drinking culture in the nightlife industry, or the music industry, is has been a very toxic thing for a very long time. You know, the first thing that I'm asked every time I get booked for an event is, okay, once the fee's taken care of, what's your rider? Which is basically like, you know, someone's asking, okay, what's your tipple? Like, what do you want to drink? And it's like, when you go back to them and you say, oh, you know, I'm just happy with like a pack of, you know, salted popcorn. They're like, yeah, but what do you want to drink? No, I'm good. They look at you like you're a fucking wrong'un. Like, so yeah, we need to make this, you know, commonplace in the industry. We need to make it more acceptable, you know, because, you know, you get the tag boring, for example, if you don't have a drink. If someone gives you a shot and you're like, oh no, I don't drink or whatever, they're like, oh, go on, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, nah, I'm actually fine. We need to make that normal, right? Because being sober is normal. Being under the influence of alcohol is not normal. So yeah, we need to return sobriety back to normality. Also, it's not just drinking, it's drugs as well. You know, like I mean, the music industry has kind of been fueled by drugs for a very fucking long time. Like, let's make no mistake. And, you know, the drug problem doesn't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon. In fact, I heard something funny quite recently about the fade out guy from the 80s. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the fade out guy. If you go back and listen to music from the 80s, basically 95% of music made in the 80s would fade out at the end. And even later as well, in the 90s and 2000s, you don't necessarily hear fade outs as much as you used to. So basically, it's just where the song just continues, but it gets quieter and quieter until it comes to a close. You know what a fade out is. I'm not going to patronize you. But anyway, there used to be a way that record labels would sneak like basically drugs into contracts for like their talent that loved cocaine. So it would be like there would be a thing on the budget or like the advance for the fade out guy. So the mythos is that they would fly some guy out who was like perfect at fading out people's music. Which is obviously fucking ridiculous when you say that out loud. But it was just a way for record labels to get around, you know, the amount of money that they were actually spending on cocaine for their artists. So yeah, I find that very, very fascinating. Anyway, I just thought I'd slip that in there. But yeah, drinking and drug culture is always, you know, going to be synonymous with the music industry, unfortunately, unless we start having proactive conversations to change that. So obviously that starts with people like yourself, Keely, who want to have that conversation. So thank you so much for sending that topic in. My thoughts and experiences about it. I mean, you know, I've played DJ sets absolutely plastered before, and no one's batted an eyelid. No one's cared, you know, because it's so commonplace. Now that I don't do that, I can kind of see, I can see more, right? I can see that people respond to what I'm doing as a DJ better for not having drank. And that just might be a subconscious thing. It might just be that I'm playing better because I'm not intoxicated. But yeah, it's interesting. You notice a lot more. You notice a lot more when you play DJ sets sober. And I'm actually I'm loving it. I'm loving it because there would have been a lot of things that I would have missed in my experiences as a DJ if I'd continued to drink at every single set, which I'm now starting to notice, and it's helping me develop a better connection with the people on the dance floor when I'm DJing. So I think that by restraining the amount that I drink, in fact minimizing it to like very special occasions, um my abilities as a DJ have increased, and I've managed to get better. So I'm very grateful. So Keely, I mean, to be fair, you know, you've just mentioned to me that you're a sober DJ and it's been interesting. I'd be interested to hear your experiences at some point. So please reach out and let me know what that's been like for you. But like, yeah, I'll reiterate, I'm not a sober DJ, but I don't drink anywhere near as much as I used to. Very special occasions, I'll have a few before a set, big festival, maybe one just to, you know, make myself loosen up a little bit because it can be quite intimidating going out to a big crowd. But yeah, I think at some point I'll shake that off as well. But yeah, really, really good topic to cover. And actually, that is something I'd quite like to discuss with a few of my upcoming guests on the podcast as well. So you've been very patient with me. You've been very patient listening to me for 4 full episodes now. And we're about to wrap this one up. But before I do, I just want to let you guys know that we've got some very interesting guests coming up over the summer. Some singers, songwriters, producers, DJs, radio hosts, podcasters, people in martial arts, people in the performing arts. It's going to be really interesting. We're going to have some great conversations. And yeah, I hope that you stick around to hear them because, yeah, it's going to be a very, very exciting summer with some of the things that we've got lined up. And also, can I just say, in the last episode, I did a little bit about auto-tune. You guys seem to love the auto-tune. So whenever we get guests on, we're going to do a little Q&A at the end of every episode. And we're going to switch the auto-tune back on. Okay, because you guys seem to enjoy it so much. So anyway, let's do a little recap of what we covered in this episode. Then we'll part ways, and then I'll catch you in a couple of weeks. So first of all, I said a massive thank you for your support on my latest single, Need to Know. I also gave you a little bit of an update on what's coming next with my upcoming single, What Time Is It? We then discussed my gig at Move in Exeter this past weekend. That got 4 out of 5 zoos. Big ups to everyone involved for an amazing event for raising a good amount of money for a young lad suffering with cancer as well. Best wishes to Jack and his family for the future. We got into the music review section. So we first had Alphajay with Brighter. That got 3 out of 5 zoos. Wicked little drum and bass work there. Then we went on to Major Trouble with The Work. That got 3 out of 5 zoos. Cool little bass house banger there. And then James Biaga with Daylight. Piano house. I'm going to go out and have a beer. I know we just talked about, you know, sobriety and stuff like that in the DJ industry, but I listened to that. I looked outside, the sun's shining. I'm going to go out and have a beer now. That got 4 out of 5 zoos. That one was titled Daylight. Thank you very much to everyone sending their tunes in. Next, we talked about my new partnership with Holl'r Music, so they are representing me now. So if you want to send any business inquiries my way, do it through them. So yeah, really excited for that partnership. I then discussed my experience going to see Tom Segura at the OVO in Wembley for his Come Together tour. That got 5 out of 5 zoos. So good, so good. I cannot emphasize enough how much of a good time I had. That entire day was amazing. Then we got into the listener topics as well from Cam Surgeon, I Am Mr. Pete, and Sudbury Keeley. So thank you so much for sending those in. Once again, I've been your host, Zurra. Thank you very much for tuning in to Zoo's Reviews, and I'll catch you at the same time in a couple of weeks.